Well, today we've got some interesting stuff going on. We kind of got we're doing like a hybrid today of kind of a webinar and a podcast. We're going to do some open communication, but I'm really happy that James and I were talking. I'm going to introduce all the players here, but James and I were talking a couple of months ago about Liquidware and login, and how we keep running into each other at the same places. And one of the places we ran into each other hard was at ITQ. And for those that don't know, the guys up in the Netherlands, these crazy Vikings up there, ITQ, are like the leaders, especially in Europe. When you think about EUC and VMware EUC, when I was at VMware, they were doing things that was real thought leadership versus just, hey, I'm going to put in some view systems here. Great. Okay. No, these guys were thinking ahead. And James and I thought, you know what? Let's get a couple of them, a couple of their rock stars, and ask them how they use this stuff. What are they doing in their environment, right? And so who'd we get? Well, we got Johan van Amersfoort, my favorite Viking. And you got a promotion recently, right? I was going to put a title there, but you're like in the CTO's office, chief, like of everything. What are you doing now, Johan, before I move on?
Well, first of all, thanks for organizing this and for having us in this session. Yeah, I indeed got a promotion. I used to evangelize the crap out of everything EUC, and people thought that I guess I did a good job, and now I have to evangelize the shit out of the rest as well. So I'm part of ITQ CTO office, and my core responsibility is to lead our advocacy program, but also to to look at trends, to do a bit of R&D, to determine what works at customers and what doesn't, how we can successfully create customer success in the upcoming years, and especially with our company growing. So we acquired one of our former competitors in the MSP space, Cam IT, or Com IT in Dutch, and they brought in a rich set of customers with a huge environment that needs to be innovated. We bring in the innovation, and now suddenly we have a ton of work to to build awesome services.
That's awesome.
To create that customer success. So that's my core responsibility.
I love it. As I was moving through IT, at one point I was called an evangelist, and at the time I was really a practitioner, and it made me kind of mad. And then I went, no, this is important, right? We have to talk about new technologies, new steps. We have to, and it's not a bad thing. But besides the chief evangelist and all that, we also have my boy Edwin on. Edwin, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, buddy. We've become faster friends over the last few months.
Yeah, how fast it's going, right?
That's right.
Well, my name is Edwin. I'm a consultant at ITQ, and I'm one of those guys that actually implement the technology at the customers and help the customer go ahead.
I love it.
Well, that sounds like a dig at Johan.
No, but Edwin is also very modest. That's definitely something he doesn't mention. But actually, Edwin is probably the brains behind all of the stuff that we're going to talk about today.
There's always
he forgot to mention that.
There's always the people that make it actually happen, right? There's always the people who think about it, the people who draw it, and the people who make it actually work.
Well, you guys know how that works, right? So it all works with like a tiny spark. Yep. That, like, back in the day when you saw your first vMotion, that was the defining moment where you think, oh, dude, I'm gonna do that VMware stuff from now on. And Edwin kind of created the same spark with me personally. I would say roughly 6 to 9 months ago, and I figured out, like, what he's showing right now, that is something really awesome. We need to do stuff.
Well, we're going to get to that, because I want you guys to talk about what you do and kind of how you think, because I think not only the tools you use are important. Tooling is always important, but it's the people and how you use them and the logic you put into the processes and everything else that's just as important, to be real honest. So let's get the next one. James, we kind of threw this together. We wanted to do something
Yeah.
light. We wanted to, we didn't want to be all stuffy with a formal thing. We wanted to talk, and half of this was your idea. So go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Sure. My name's James O'Regan. I am a product marketing manager at Liquidware. I've been there for just over a year, and I'm responsible for our monitoring and remediation solutions. So that means that our product Stratosphere comes under myself, and I have had the pleasure of meeting Johan, recording some videos with Johan, and visiting the awesome ITQ office in the Netherlands. So we had a really good time with the team and got to see firsthand what the whole ITQ culture is like. So when you said ITQ, it just made total sense, Ron, because as you said, we both have them in common as a partner. And what they're doing is awesome. Like, their studio is out of this world. It's like, there's as a vendor, I don't have anything like that. So I'm pretty sure you don't either, Ron. So it's just yeah, unless you're like someone at the scale of Microsoft or something, their studio is amazing. It was so good to record there, and to meet all the guys, and recorded with Johan and Dennis, who's doing some awesome stuff as well. So yeah, awesome team at ITQ. So.
Yeah, and I'll point this out before we start this thing and move on. By the way, I'm Ron Oglesby. I'm a VP here at Login. I deal with the technical folks that deal with customers and partners. But talking about that studio, I want to talk about it, right? I was at VMware, I was at Citrix. I've been places that have big built studios, right? Because they make production level high-end videos, right? Some of those videos you see at VMworld or Citrix Synergy. Well, there is no more Synergy, whatever. Maybe there's no more VMworld. I don't know. But those high-end videos you would see, they have studios. The difference with ITQ is they built a whiteboard and a place to have discussion in a studio, not to have the senior VP of cloud enablement show up and talk to a reporter. They built it to have Johan and Edwin and folks like that talk to technical people and record information that was interesting to the technical folks, not just the market and the analysts and stuff like that. It's really there, which I haven't seen out of other partners getting that type of quality. And it takes two things, right? The quality of the discussion, because you could have a great studio, get two guys on there talking about something that no one cares about or is not important, and the production quality. Generally, you don't marry those two together, but from an EUC community perspective, you guys are the only one marrying that together. So that's why it's so unique and rare, and why you don't see it out of the big guys generally. But being, sorry capitalists that we are, I'm going to do one little quick slide, and James is going to do one quick slide. And I'm not going to beat this to death. I don't have any architecture slides, but really, at Login VSI, what we're doing is we're trying to supply you with information. That's it, right? And people go, well, what type of information, right? And James has seen this. James, especially with Liquidware and Stratosphere, where they're monitoring, he can point to a direct pain point that a customer has. I need to get information about this to this person, right? And they do it in the production environment, right? We're like kind of a pre-prod in a lot of cases with some production capability, but not what they're doing. And what I mean by that is we simulate everything. And what that allows you to do, where we focus, is our tried and true capacity planning, scalability, comparing an Azure 8 Proc version 5 to this on-prem, that you can do all that. But really what the big use cases lately have been is they take that same automation for applications and they use it for like image validation. So I just patch my image, and we've all had it happen. I patch my image. I sent out the notice to app owners on Saturday night, said check by noon on Sunday. They either don't respond or they give you a thumbs up. And then Monday morning, 400 users can't use application X because the new antivirus package blacklisted some file or whatever. So our automation is around, how do I validate an app? How do I tell if it works? How do I tell how fast it launches, right? Before I make the change in production. And then if I'm making a big change, I'm changing hardware. You guys, we were talking about before we got on, with all that's going on in the world around EUC with VMware and Citrix and everything, people are talking. It's just logical. I need to look at Nutanix. I need to at least look at AVD. I need to look over here. Maybe I should be using something else. And when you're talking about costs and performance in EUC, you've got basically you're doing a trade-off. I can overcapacity everything and pay out the nose and sometimes still run into performance problems if you don't check. But for every other company in the world, they're trying to say, I want to get maximum performance for a minimal price. I want to find that balance. And this is kind of where we play, is in those areas, cost optimization, all that. Now, Liquidware, I'm going to kick over to this tab. I'm going to let James do this, but this is, now we've launched, right? We're
Exactly.
You know, and show us, you know, give us a little bit on yours too. And then we'll tell our story, and then we'll get Johan and Edwin tell us we're all wrong, and they'll tell us their story.
Yeah, so Liquidware are very much focused now on digital employee experience, but the way we look at it is that we go beyond the normal kind of DEX solution of monitoring remediation. So we have application portability with Flex app. So you've got advanced application layering. You can integrate it with our UEM solution, which is Profile Unity. So we're we're getting involved in that whole employee experience, not just for monitoring, but actually we are taking part in it because of the way your profile is so important to your user experience. Mm-hmm. So those are just two aspects. Then, as Ron mentioned, we've got our kind of monitoring and diagnostics. You've got Stratosphere. So it's all about that kind of monitoring and deep diagnostics. And Johan will go on and how they've utilized it in what they're doing at ITQ. But it just gives you so much data that, as Ron said, you look at login VSI for pre. Then when you're in production, you can look at Liquidware and kind of that deep, detailed monitoring and be able to remediate and fix things. And then we have our new solution, which just came out in August at VM Explore. VMworld Explore. I got it right.
VMworld. We could say it.
Dude, you hammered it massively.
So we launched our solution, which is based around remediation of endpoints anywhere, and so it gives you real-time data. So we're checking that endpoint every 3 seconds, and the console, it's a SaaS-based product, so the console is updating every 3 seconds and displaying all of that kind of data. And then we have a suite of remediation tools built in to kind of just for that whole to make that troubleshooting as proactive as possible. So that's kind of an very quick overview of what we do at Liquidware.
Great. Now I'm going to toss this over to Johan because I want to hear a little bit about their continuous delivery strategy that they've been talking about. But I'd like to point something interesting out, and you guys can tell me if I'm out of my mind. Right here, James is showing multiple use cases or pain points that customers have and how they address different things through different products they have. We showed 4 different use cases, right? App validation, image performance, big scalability, etc. And I'm going to toss this over and I maybe address it after you talk about your overall strategy. But what I found is not just in customers, but in folks like you and partners and MSPs, it isn't like you buy the entire suite for everything. Most customers have a pain point or two that's what's itching them, right? I've, at Liquidware, it might be, we fought the profiles forever. We've done, I only need Profile Unity today, right? Or in our environment over here, we really just need the real-time monitoring or what, there are pain points. So as you guys discuss this, I might be digging into that to, how do you select tools? How do you find, when you find a pain point, what happens and all that? But I'd love to let Johan talk a little bit about ITQ, because this was the whole deal. Why are you using both of us, and how do you guys in your world, why are you guys seen as leaders? What happens? Give us how this all came about.
Yeah, so ITQ originally was a consultancy company, right? So we did end-to-end projects. We start with we follow the philosophy of VMware, which is assess, design, deploy. And at the end of the road, you deploy something, you leave the customer And maybe like 6 months later or a year later, you come back to the customer and find the state of the platform you left behind is the exact same as you basically see it right now. So there's nothing changed. But what did change was like the perspective of the end users, or how applications are updated or being treated or consuming services. So there's a huge impact to platforms. And what we figured out is like the only way to basically visualize what's happening in a platform is to use a solution that's capable of taking every little bit from a platform and put it in a single overview. And we've been working with primarily with Liquidware for, I would say, the last 7 or 8 years already.
Nice.
I believe we were the first one in Northern Europe to work with Stratosphere. And we have been using the Stratosphere solution for different aspects of our services. Stratosphere Fit for the, I don't believe it exists anymore. It's everything is, I think, Stratosphere UX, but we used to use it primarily for assessments. So you basically create a massive data lake of information and use that information to pinpoint where a customer is right now and what steps you need to take to bring them to a future state. And along the way, we found out that it's not just a great solution to do that, but to keep, like, it is not a single step exercise. So what you need to maintain, or what you need to do is continuously use the information you see to optimize the platform. Now, that was one first step. Another thing that we saw is that customers just have a lot of challenges building or applying changes to their platform. Could be application changes, could be base image changes. And we developed a framework, which we call ITQ Images Code, which fully automates the build phase of such a base image. And with every change you would like to apply, basically build another new base image. And we do the same with applications. Now, like, if you implement that and you still want to be aware what the impact of those changes are, then first of all, obviously you need to monitor that, but also you need to have a process in place that automates the process of checking what the impact of a change is. This is fully where Login Enterprise comes into play. So bundling the whole platform together, our automatic way of applying changes, a solution to monitor the impact of those changes, and another solution to automate basically a smoke test, to automate the impact of a change that's outside of your scope. Bundled together now forms what we call, and that's what you're seeing on this infinity loop, the infinity loop of awesomeness. So we have a constant loop that brings in customer feedback, application feedback, factual data from, in this case, Stratosphere, and we put all of that information into an optimization phase. So what you're eventually seeing is we constantly optimize the platform in such a way that it improves the user experience with every change that applies, but also we get customer feedback through microsurveys on an application change or on a firewall change or something else. So you constantly are aware of how optimized the platform is. And, you know, we're doing this for the sake of a platform for a customer being optimized for user experience. I mean, like, if an end user is not consuming a platform like it's intended to, or if an end user is consuming a platform, but it does not perform or behave like their local device does, they're going to implement shadow IT. That's just a fact of life. Dude, the number of solutions we found out that was running at the customer using Stratosphere to detect it is insane. It's insane. So yeah, bundling everything together into one single service, or basically two services as we have it now. We have a base image management service that contains all of these solutions, and we have a bundled application management service as well, which has those solutions integrated into it. Depending on what the customer requirement is, we can tie everything together or just offer the application layer or the base image layer.
Mm.
But it offers huge benefits at customers because they just don't know how to manage a base image anymore, or they don't want to.
And I think that's what's going to be really interesting as we go through this conversation a little bit. I think people would love to hear, you know, a little bit about your processes, right? Like we automate our base image builds. All right, great. A lot of people are still, they're logging into the gold image, they're doing their update. They might check a few things, they push it out, they log into the next gold image, right? Which is, it's manually, obviously very heavy from an FTE perspective, from a full-time employee perspective, which we all know in today's economy, right? IT staffs they're short, right? They're being asked to do things with less. Automation can help alleviate that. But what I often see with automation is you get a level of stability because you can repeat a process over and over and you know it's identical. You don't have to worry about that engineer who on a Tuesday night who's still there at midnight clicking next and they forgot to do the one thing.
Yeah. Well, you're removing the human error essentially, Ron, aren't you?
And it's the same. Like I'm also a host of a podcast, a Dutch podcast, where we focus on like challenges you like. Don't apply a change on Friday afternoon. That's always one of the key rules, right? But you don't have to worry if the process fully is in place and the strategy is in place to basically predict an outcome. So you can, throughout this service, you have a continuous delivery strategy, which is, well, I would say it reduces the risk, or it eliminates the risk, but it significantly reduces the risk of errors happening. And yeah, I think this is essential for every company being serious in implementing a VDI or RDSH environment. You need to do this.
Well, and let me for the people that are listening, let me say, it's not just like you guys go in and set up somebody else's environment with tools and go, here you go, knock yourself out. You guys are also an MSP. You're actually hosting environments. So when people say, do you know what it's like to manage an environment of so many? You guys have it, right? You've got multiple customers, you're managing lots of seats. So when you're talking about image updates, it's not theoretical to ITQ. You guys are updating images, you're changing apps, and real customers are impacted, right? And if something goes wrong, or they installed something, or, you know, Stratosphere starts showing, why did all these CPUs go up all of a sudden? None of our change control showed any things. You guys are actually dealing with that on a daily basis. You're not just out at customer sites, right?
No, and the biggest customer using this is a large manufacturing customer in Europe, probably one of the largest and a globally known firm. Obviously, I'm not allowed to talk about the firm right now, but they have approximately 150,000 employees.
Wow.
So that's quite massive. And in those cases, and this is something that people tend to forget, but if you, through optimization of a base image and the fully automated process of building it, for instance, can reduce the log-on time of a virtual desktop with 20 seconds, it doesn't seem to be like a big change, but now do that 20 seconds times 150,000 employees times maybe 4 times a day or 2 times a day, and multiply that with approximately 250 working days.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have a business case for implementing such a service, because we can create huge potential and save a lot of money. And the business case is nearly always is a no-brainer.
Yeah. So let me ask this question, and you know, James and you guys had said you'd been working together, Liquidware and ITQ, for about 7 years. Started off with it in, like you said, assessments, using it to gather info, you know, and now you obviously use it in your MSP practice, managing all these desktops. You know, what led you, as you guys went down the path? Obviously, Liquidware has grown over the years. Their software platform has grown over the years, right? And maybe it was the advent of changes that allowed you to. What was it that drove you? And what's your use case on the Liquidware side?
Oh, dude, that's the simplest answer ever.
Okay.
So back in the day, so we are commonly known as also one of the leading PSO partners in Northern Europe. So VMware PSO, we've been delivering huge VMware projects for a while now, and part of that delivery plan was, for instance, to use Lakeside Systrack as an assessment solution. And this is probably 2016-ish timeframe. So we had to use Systrack back then in a delivery of a huge project, and just the build of such a platform took, like, literally the backend took around a week to get it done. Then to deploy the agent took another week to approximately 5,000 endpoints. We are like, so if we want to do this through a solution like that, or a solution like EG back in the day, which is honestly, didn't really perform that well, it was such a mess. And then I found out through Morteza Esteki, who is he's still the VP for Northern Europe, if I'm not mistaken.
VP for Northern Europe.
Yeah, I invited him over. Like, let's talk. I heard something really cool about Stratosphere, that the deployment is easy, that the rollout of the agents is fairly simple. Like, what can you tell me about that? And he just handed over a license, and a manual, and go play with it. And literally, like, at the first customer, literally in half a day, we had deployed the appliance, a bunch of collectors, and I think we sent out the agent to approximately 2,000 endpoints. And now, within 4 hours, especially for a consultancy company who does professional services, where you want to deliver, like, I have no issue selling 2 weeks of assessment services, of building a platform to do so. But if I can do the same thing in 4 hours or in a day, for the customer, it's better. Also, something I really, really like about the Stratosphere platform is the API. So it is, dude, it's so simple. Like, everyone can use the API. It is probably the simplest API builder around. So if you want to gather specific information, it's just a matter of a couple of clicks. It sends out a JSON query, and you can use the string in whatever solution you would like to use to generate reports, to do whatever you like. So all in all, I love the simplicity, the scalability, and the ease of deployment. Nice.
Now, it's interesting there, because you were talking about API accessibility and stuff like that. And I am assuming on the MSP side, where you're managing all these, right? And you're actually using Liquidware for real-time monitoring. Are you guys pulling info out of Liquidware and putting it somewhere, using it to trigger events, or are you, just staring at their console and using their machinations?
Yeah, no. So we are asset light from an MSP perspective, because we hate owning hardware, a lot of hardware. So what we do is we basically run a private virtual data center at customers that contains, for instance, the Liquidware Stratosphere appliance. And what it continuously collects information. With certain events, we forward the event to our environment, so we can proactively talk to customers and see, like, okay, we're seeing that for some reason this happens. This happens at scale. We're foreseeing that it might impact your logon times or your performance, or we're seeing that this application is doing something. So we can actually proactively work with customers to avoid bigger problems of happening.
Well, you can start to see trends, right? You can say, hey, we haven't seen this alert before, but now we've seen it 3 times this week, right? And it's not a big deal, because typically in IT guys go, well, we got the alert, but no one's calling the help desk.
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is sometimes our customers, they don't call the help desk the first or second time, because they know that it's not a fun experience for them. So what they do is they sit around and they wait till the 4th or 5th time it happens, It's annoyed them enough, whatever it is, an app not launching or my logins are slow. Then they finally call. I've got 20 minutes. I'm going to call the help desk. And then they react. But if you can see it ahead of time, you can prevent that, which again, we go back to the IT trying to do more with less these days. You have to reduce the frontline tickets. It's not all about the architects on the back end. It's about those help desk swamp. Hey, they had a 10% cut too. Right? How do we reduce their call load by 10%?
You have to improve that user experience, which is what we've been talking. The DEX has kind of come out as this term, but all of the things we're talking about improving employee experience. And that's the whole point of all of these kind of solutions.
Now, I get asked a lot of questions, and Edwin might even talk to this because he's a even though he's got that fun accent, he's a bright man. We get asked all the time because we go in as we go in and as login. I hate that both of our names start with an L because I'm not real smart up here and I keep flopping them. But we'll go in sometimes and people have Liquidware Stratosphere. They have ControlUp. They have some type of monitoring tool that they're looking at their internal environments. They're saying, here's what it is. Well, okay. Why did you guys then go, we have Liquidware. What do you need login VSI for?
Right. Yeah, I can hop into that one. What we wanted to do is we want to validate the applications and how is the entire process for the end user going from an end user perspective, right? So we need to simulate the entire process. We need the user to log in. We need to start the application and just simulate those users. But we need this data. We need to simulate those users without bothering the actual users because they have something else to do. They have to do their work. I'm mainly focused on healthcare. Those guys are busy. They're very understaffed and they don't have the time to validate all those applications over and over again.
And they don't have the time to validate, but yet they're in healthcare. If their system goes down, the only thing worse would be the operating system that runs the controls for a nuclear reactor, right? I mean, it's like, oh, I can't go to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly that. So they don't have the time. It's really important, but yeah, so we needed to validate that one and get that quality up, right? So that when we release an image, it's really tough in hospital. It's a 24/7 times environment, so we don't have business hours. So we can say, yeah, we're gonna patch it tonight and see how it goes. No, it goes on 24 hours a day. So when we release something, it has to be on that level, not something like here. It has to be that level. We can afford a level 1 outage. Because then the ambulances have to go to other hospitals, and you can imagine what's happening there. I've been there way too many times.
And with you guys providing a service too, one of the things I would think is you're patching, you're following your SLAs and their requirements for their apps or whatever, right? You're patching, and without some type of, like you said, automation, right? Virtualize that user, allow it to walk through the app, whatever. You're relying on the customer. Hey, we're patching this. Can you guys check your apps? And we all know how that works, right? But if it goes bad, it's on you. Just like if you don't see some, oh, the processor's spiking over here. If you don't see that, it's on you. This is the same way, though it requires the customer be involved, you're ultimately responsible with your SLAs.
Exactly. And last week I was at a hospital with colleagues of mine, and we're discussing this with the customer. They have around 500 to 600 applications that need to be validated every image over and over again. And the guys that validate it is the personnel in the hospital actually taking care of people, but they're bothered with questions. Can you please validate your application again? And if something goes wrong, the image is pulled back and a new image is released, and there's another question coming in. Can you please validate your image? And on and on and on and on. Sometimes this process takes so long that the changes are starting to pile up, right? And at one moment you have to push through, right? Where there are security validations here, just get it through. And that's something that's happening, and that it can be done. So that's why we started to look into this.
A lot of risk there. There's a lot of risk. Now, Edwin, you were showing us when we were jumping on that you had you had some demos or something you wanted to show. You had
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
had some of the cool stuff coming out of the ITQ Bat Cave or something.
Yeah. Look, we talked about the ITQ image builder, right? How we can automate the entire image from zip to the end. It's all automated.
That's EUC geeks want to see how you guys automate the build process.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not gonna give everything away.
Don't give it all.
Bit of a
You got some
secret,
secrets.
right? But I will show you how it goes in the flow. And I was discussing this internally and discussing the validation impact on that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we can automate the entire flow, right? We build the image from scratch, but wait, what if we can automatically validate the entire image, all the applications that we implemented, and get a report in the email, just in one flow, right? I just push the start button and then go ahead, and then we receive the report. That's awesome. So I'm going to try to share the window. I'm not a big Zoom user, so I might
if it blows up, I'll insert it later via the magic of edit.
Yeah, we need something to, wait. How do I do that again? I just found, oh yeah, share screen, there it is. And then we go into this one, right? I hope this works.
All right. I'm seeing something
right now. See, good old media player. There it goes. Yeah, there we go. Well, I'm not going to show the entire flow. This is just a part of the process. What we're doing right now is that we built the image and we're pushing out the image to a specified horizon test pool automatically. So the image is built and we push it through. Then we had a little bit of a struggle, like, yeah, I'm pushing it, and then immediately the test started, but the pushing process didn't finish yet. So wait, and then the test failed. That's not going to work. So we build it around this. So the push starts. It's cleaning up the environment for that one. And when the environment is ready, it starts a test. As you can see right now, I'm not doing anything in demo, and it starts logging in. So the entire process is validated, and that's really important. So
this is interesting. So you built the image. You're using a DevOps model on that side to build it up, get your apps in, get set up, and then here you're actually from that build process still kicking off an automated test, which is essentially just a login VSI test, a single application test to go PowerPoint, Excel, Word, what all the different apps that are on that image.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the apps are validated. The entire login process is validated. Also really important, right? So we know that the user environment manager works. We know that the profile gets loaded. We know that a voice in this case is working. Otherwise, I won't have the apps.
Yeah, so you're ensuring that the surrounding infrastructure that supports that session. Yeah, because you're having to make a real protocol connection. You're having to go through a gateway if you're set up that way. You're doing all that. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So we know that works, and we execute a test automatically. But by doing it this way, we know for sure that the test is executed the right way and exactly the same way over and over again. Because we're all humans. We all take shortcuts, especially we Dutch people. We do that a lot, right? If you can take a shortcut, we'll take a shortcut. And if they ask, did you test it? Yeah, sure. And then it didn't work. And then there's a big thing going on and people get mad and we have to have discussions about that, what's going on. So automate it. So by doing it this way, we can build the image again and again if needed. I can validate the image again and again if needed. And if it's at the level I want it, I can release it. So, and all that in an automated way. But really cool is the reporting for functionality in VSI is that I actually get a report in email stating that my image is correct, right? So I get the report in my email, and there it is. I can show this to my end users, right? Your image is validated. Yeah, check it out. Even some screenshots if you like that.
Yep. The application launch times, did they launch, did they function? You bet.
Everything is integrated. So that, that saves.
So and in your case, as an MSP, it's like you're supplying something like that to your customer. Hey, we did this change. Here's the test we already ran. It goes in your file. We're checking that box. In a big organization, it might be like a VMware team or a Citrix team giving that to their business units, right? Because the business units are their customer. They might go, hey, app owners, we used to test with you for an hour every Saturday night or 3 hours or whatever. Do it with us once, get the app in the system, and we'll never do it again.
Exactly. And that's part of our application management service. is that we can actually we can manage the applications, we can install the application, automate that process, but now we can also validate the applications. We can help with the intake of the test of those that needs to be done. So we can send someone in, help you build all those tests, invite the users, and do everything around that, and then automate the way out of it.
I would assume with like in the MSP model, as you onboard a customer in these scenarios, right? It starts with, we got Liquidware you can do some discovery with, right? And then they can monitor the back end. This could just be part of, okay, we're onboarding them. What apps do you have? Okay, we have all these apps already. We need these two. We'll make you a script for that. And does it just become part of the onboarding?
Exactly. So, and we can do this continuously, right? We can keep coming back and help you with new applications, because applications are changing all the time. There are new versions, and we can help with that.
Yeah, and one thing I think that's really, really cool about this as well is, and that's not specifically tied to the building of the image, but quite often EUC teams or VDI teams have a certain scope of visibility, and within that scope of visibility, they know what changes to track. Well, what we also done is we used the functionality in Login Enterprise to, have a session continuously being spun up.
Continuous tests.
Yeah. Stratosphere has all over visibility of that session continuously signing in, doing like executing an application, doing stuff. And now IT has, although they don't have a scope of visibility outside, like they don't know what might happen on the network. They don't know what happens on the storage. But if someone changes something, with the use of both Login Enterprise as well as Stratosphere, we are now capable of we can, like, we see if something happens, we see a sudden spike in something, or log-on times increase, or application start times increase for a reason that we are now, we don't know. We can now talk to the network people or talk to the storage people. Like, did you apply a change? Did you update a firmware? Did you do something? Simply because now we have the tools in place to help a customer to create that visibility. And that's extremely valuable. And there was something interesting you said there, because you talked about the continuous test, right? Which for those that don't know, it just takes the test Edwin was talking about, like launch these apps and make sure they function. And you just set it up and you say, hey, run every 15 minutes. And so it just flags you if, hey, why did my virtual user who does everything the same way every day, why is his time changing? And it's interesting. I hadn't thought about it, James. I hadn't thought that, okay, just like every other user, that data from the virtual user is also going to show up in that Liquidware interface for Stratosphere, which to me is interesting, because let's say the login time does jump up on the virtual user in the middle of the day. Now, everybody else logged on in the morning. There's fewer logons in the middle of the day. You don't get any of the help desk tickets yet, but you get this flag. It's interesting. You can then, you've got the login enterprise data, but you can then go to Liquidware, which is really good at grabbing stuff from inside the VM, right? And go, let me just look at this virtual user all day. When did it change? Oh, we have an exact time point now because Login Enterprise told us it changed on the last run. James's tool just told me it changed 7 minutes ago. Here's when it happened in that user.
Yeah.
Right. And you can start to dig into it.
Yeah. And one of the things you can do with Stratosphere is you can dig into that login experience and see which particular step is possibly causing the issue.
Yeah. And we do a little bit of that. I don't think we get as deep as you do on that. We do a little bit. I think you guys have more, but it could be anything. It could be GPO processing. It could be slowdown of authentication from the DCs, whatever. But so Edwin, I know we've got just a little bit of time left. Did you have another demo you wanted to show?
Yeah.
People want to see it. All right.
Got a lot of demos, as you know.
All right, let's see one. Let's see one more demo. Let's see one.
Yeah. Let me share one with command control. I really like that one, right?
Okay.
Because we have Login Enterprise simulating the end user and getting that one. And in the demo, I installed the command control agent and just capture the data. It gives you a really cool view.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Let's see it.
Let me share screen again, and then
he's a Zoom guy now.
You're becoming an expert.
Almost there. Almost there. Maybe one day I will be. All right. There it is. Just starting the application test, one user, and in the meantime, you can see the data coming in. So I get a 360 view. I don't know if it's readable.
That's okay. We can do some zoom ins and stuff.
Yeah, you can zoom in, right? So
so on the left, you've got a simulated user logging in. You've got a login VSI user running Word and their normal workload. And on the right,
doing its stuff, starting the application, simulating the user, being awesome. Yeah, just doing its thing. And on the right, I can look into that session, right? What's the CPU doing? What's the memory doing? Is there any latency in the display protocol? Or is the storage hogging something? Or what's going on? What kind of background processes are running? So I can just see it in one view. And that's awesome. Yeah. Instead of just logging in as an admin and trying to start some application, opening the performance monitor and trying to relate those data. No, I can just look live. And I like this setup because command control, it's cloud-based. I just install an agent and I can capture the data. No appliances, nothing else. Just install and look.
Now I got to ask Edwin, is this video sped up?
Yeah, of course.
I was about to say your simulated user is on a high dose of caffeine.
It's right?
They're moving pretty fast.
No, most of the videos I speed them up because otherwise the time we just have one video for the entire podcast, entire cast. So that's fun.
What's really cool, by the way, is that command control shows information near real time. So and that's a massive difference with other solutions in the market, which will show you information that maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds old, 30 seconds old, maybe a minute old. And this is, I think, where command control, it's really a massive difference. Yeah,
I could see that. I think that it's something that is unique, you know. I know, James, you've probably run into it, right? You've run into our customers, we run into yours, and you know, we always talk about, and I'm sure the same thing happens at Liquidware. Well, here's where we're at, right? We monitor, we do this, right? And we're like, well, here's where we at, but it's different when practitioners, when people who are actually doing it can show people what they're doing. And you guys have that interesting thing. That's why I wanted to talk, because you've got the automated build, right? Which is all Azure DevOps based from what I could see, right? Yeah. Automated build the image, put down the apps, everything's happy, run a quick QA on it with login, get the thing out into production. Now it's great. You've got the agents in there from Liquidware that are doing real-time monitoring. And then on the other side, you're running this simulated user all day long, right? And so you've got login, and most people, when they first hear the two, it's like, well, I already have whatever. Yeah, but we do different things. And unless they can relate to that and hear the different pieces of their jobs and where the tools fit, it's sometimes hard, right? It's hard to get it, to see it until you see it. Now, I used ITQ.eu here. Just because I didn't want to put in the /NL and have everyone go straight to Dutch. But because I read it and it all reads like I'm in an IKEA or something. I can't really read anything. But, you know, kind of, I want you guys, we're going to wrap it up. I was just going to say thank you so much for being here. You know, especially James helping me set this up, and Edwin and Johan from ITQ. You know, if customers or even people outside of Europe that just wanted to see what ITQ is about, or if you guys have more public, you guys have a YouTube page, you have all that. Why don't you know, tell people where they can see more of discussions, lightboard discussions, all that. Where can they see that from ITQ?
Yeah, well, so we have, if you go to itq.eu, there's a page in there called the Knowledge Hub, and that's basically where we aggregate all of the information. So everything you just mentioned, the YouTube videos, the blog posts, every news articles, everything is aggregated there. But if you go to youtube.com and just check out ITQ, you'll find probably around 300 plus videos right now. Wow. In all sorts of different types of technology aspects, and a lot of live coverages of events, and also the videos we did both with you and James. And
do you have videos or links there? Because I know you guys are big in the Dutch user group and the VMugs, and there's one coming up, right?
Yeah, so there's a Dutch VMUG, the Dutch UserCon is coming up, one that run. So I stepped up as a leader for the Dutch VMUG in 2020, and I think 2021 we had the first in-person one after COVID. Ron did the opening keynote, and we were happy to share back then. We were the biggest UserCon in the world. Yeah, we're doing it again. So
Nice.
26th of March, we have some awesome keynote speakers. Chris Wolf will be there. Our old friend Brian Madden will be there to deliver the afternoon keynote talking about his new hobby. And yeah,
That'd
it's
be
gonna
some related
it's
to that
gonna,
really, that thing that people keep talking about at the moment.
which is pinball.
Well, it starts with an A.
A ends with an I.
No, I have no idea.
Well,
Let's
he might
ask ChatGPT.
he might spend his time talking about the last year of him learning French. So that'll be fun.
No, but yeah, that's looking good, and I'm unaware we're already able to share it, but Edwin might just do a 40-minute session about what we just talked about.
Oh,
Yeah.
Edwin's got a
Very
session.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just gonna show what we just showed before, right? The image builder, and talk about a little more in depth about that.
Well, yeah, because you want to go in and talk about, the technicalities of doing it, right? We just showed the results of your work. We didn't show the actual work.
No, exactly about that. And a little bit of a side hobby of mine. It's combining everything in Grafana, the tick stack, and it went a little bit berserk. But I collected the data from VSI and used Telegraph and collected data and create very colorful dashboards. I cannot describe it any other way, but that gives me a real-time live view about how my hypervisor is performing in relation to the end user experience and related data in time, and it's really cool. So
That's awesome.
we're going to show something more on VMUG, so be there.
Great.
And
fun. Finally, James, where are you guys going to be? You're going to be at the Dutch VMUG? You're going to be getting around? People want to see you?
Are we good? I think so. Yes, we are. Yes. Sorry. Yes, we are. We will be all over Europe this the next couple of months. We've got I think lots coming up. We'll be at the EUC forum in London. So part of the team will be in the EUC forum in London. Part of the team will probably be at the Dutch VMUG, and then we will obviously be at, we have a couple of sessions at E2E coming up in May in Madrid. Yeah. Nice. Just one thing I wanted to do is Liquidware has a Slack community. If you go to liquidware.com, click on community, you can join up. You get access to the entire Liquidware team up to and including David Benneman, our CEO. He responds to Slack. So really worthwhile, some good content on there and access to the entire Liquidware team. And I just wanted to thank the guys from ITQ because it's brilliant what they're doing with both our solutions. And really thank them for their time and they continue support.
Awesome. Well,
we
guys,
need an applause for that.
Yeah, I'll do one of those things where I fake it in like a TV show, right? We'll have a bunch of applause and maybe I'll put a lighted, applaud sign above it. But you said it great, James. I really appreciate it. You guys are always awesome to talk to. And this is what we wanted to do is let people hear about ITQ and what you guys are doing because it's just awesome. And I hope they see your session, Edwin. I hope, I don't know if you guys are recording this year, but it would probably be a very valuable thing for the community to see how you built your automation and understand at least the underlying stuff. Too bad. That means they have to go to the UserCon.
Just be there.
Well, either that or that. But
they got to go to the UserCon.
But
the Netherlands are not that far from all these
but
other countries. They can get there.
Yeah, well, Edwin doesn't know it yet, but we'll probably dive into the studio in the upcoming months to create some really, really good videos and sessions out of that. But next to that, also a big shout out to both Liquidware and Login VSI because I think you guys are perfect examples of vendors, ISVs that truly understand what the value of partners is. In our case, like, we don't sell a lot of licenses, but what we do sell is knowledge and services and customer value. And both Login VSI as well as Liquidware has much, like, you both invested in us as a company as well, to create that customer value, to have that end-to-end success with customers. And it's it's a huge pleasure working with you guys, and I'm looking forward to what the future will bring.
Well, we appreciate it. We try. Sometimes we fail, but we try. And you guys have been great partners. James, Edwin, Johan, appreciate you so much. It's been a great another talk, and we'll do this again.
Definitely.
Cool.
Thanks very much thanks, guys.